Hello, I'm City Manager Erik Tungate. It is my distinct honor to be able to present next year's budget. In the next few minutes, I'll be detailing a budget that is balanced for the next 3 years. First, I will start with a discussion about the City Council's strategic plan priorities. Then I will talk about the current economic environment in terms of challenges. And finally, I will talk about some of the budget highlights in the form of opportunities. First, City Council strategic plan priorities. As you know, City Council has prioritized economic development, firming up our administrative operations, focusing on new and advanced technology, better marketing and communication with our residents and business owners, making sure that our public services are efficient, and of course, making sure that the city is governed accordingly. Now I'd like to discuss the current economic environment. Remember, it was not that long ago that the city was in financial disarray. The quote that I'm using for this year's budget is by Lucy Stone in 1902, "The road before us is shorter than the road behind us." As you can see here from the winter edition of the 2012 Oak Park Report, the city was in dire straits. In just 4 short years later, the city has been able to turn itself around both financially and by instituting a pro-growth strategy. That pro-growth strategy is now in place and is producing dividends for this community. So first, let's talk about some of our challenges. We know that revenues have steadily decreased to the city of Oak Park, both with revenue sharing from the state of Michigan, which as we went back and looked at our books, we saw that approximately $17 million had been eliminated from state revenue sharing since 2002. In next year's budget, we will also lose a very important federal grant, the COPS program grant. This will have a $150,000 direct hit to our general fund budget. Although taxable values are slowly rising, Oak Park lost about 40% of its total taxable value in the Great Recession of 2008. And just to put that in numbers, we went from about $728 million in total taxable value to about $436 million today in 2015. That is a very sizable decrease. Some of our other challenges as displayed here by this graph. Oak Park compared to the rest of Oakland County. As you can see, we are definitely lagging the improvements in taxable value that the rest of the county has encountered. 1 mil today is not what 1 mil used to be. We are getting a lot less revenue from 1 mil than we used to. Throughout the course of the current year, we hired Plant Moran to come in and do a third-party, thorough analysis of our combined water and sewer rates. They took everything into account when they made these recommendations. So what were their recommendations? They recommended that the city increase its water and sewer rate by 7% for the next several years. City Council, working with the city administration, has decided to pass on a less than recommended rate. We're going to pass on 7% next year, but in the 2 years after that, we're going to pass on a 6% and a 4.5% combined rate increase. This rate increase will allow us to put money aside to take on unforeseen circumstances in our water and sewer system, but it will also allow us to operate our water and sewer system effectively as we always have. As you can see from our comparison to other communities, Oak Park is basically in the middle of the pack. We're not the highest, but we're not the lowest. We feel that these rates are in line with those cities around us. So now let's talk about some of the tremendous opportunities that lay ahead for this community. First, the next year's budget will reduce taxes and reduce costs directly to our residents. We have looked for every possible area of city government where we could find efficiencies and reduce costs. One of those areas was a direct reduction of your taxes by refinancing both the 2003 and the 2006 street bonds. As a result of the 2006 street bond issue, we're going to be reducing your taxes in next year's budget by about 0.71 mils. If you include the refinancing of our 2003 street bonds, it's almost an entire mil that we will have reduced your taxes by. So while we are passing on a 7% combined water and sewer rate increase, we will not be passing on any increase in our solid waste fees, i.e. garbage removal. This is the first time the city has not passed on an increase in some time. One of the most important parts of next year's budget, and for the 2 years after that, is that we plan to maintain a very strong rainy day fund. Our rainy day fund projects that we will have about $3.4 million on hand to take on unforeseen circumstances. Keep in mind, this $3.4 million far exceeds the requirements that we have. I am required to have 8.33% of total expenditures stowed away to take on the unforeseen. We have more than doubled that with the budgets that are in place now for the coming years. I take public safety very seriously. It is our top priority, and I share that with the members of City Council. We've therefore made sure to put funding aside to hire one new public safety officer per year for the next 3 budget years. As you can see, public safety funding is getting back to more normal required levels. In addition, for the first time in a very, very long time, if ever, we are taking on our long-term liabilities. Due to cost savings initiatives, we have been able to pre-fund almost $2.5 million of our retiree health care liability. Setting these funds aside will allow us to maintain financial stability and, again, pre-fund some of our retiree health care liabilities that were 0% funded when I arrived. And for the first time, the city plans on building up against this long-term liability that can have a crushing effect on the city's general fund budget. This works towards the City Council objective to maintain financial stability and financial stability on the long term. As I mentioned right at the outset, we are going to continue to focus on community and economic development initiatives. We are starting to see an influx of new businesses in this community. New business starts have almost doubled compared to previous years at this time in the current year. You will continue to see new business starts and hopefully new restaurants opening throughout our community. One of the best examples of a new business that will be opening soon is the FedEx ground facility in the southwest corner of our community. This 300,000 square foot distribution facility is nearly complete and will add to the tax base here in our community. We've also welcomed in a new restaurant that will begin construction later this year, 8MK in the WWJ building on the southeast corner of our community. This new restaurant will serve as a landmark in attracting people from all over the region and beyond. In addition to that, we hope to attract 15 more new restaurants in the next 5 years. We've also established a corridor improvement authority to make sure that we're taking on some of the blight and vacant storefronts throughout some of our most important corridors. We've also made it a priority to invest in public facilities, public infrastructure, and our equipment. We plan on putting about $1.88 million in local road projects in next year's budget. One of the main parts of those projects will be a complete reconstruction of Granson Street between Church and Coolidge. We will also be, hopefully, implementing the redesign of 9 Mile Road. We know that 9 Mile Road is not serving the community the way it needs to, and we have therefore put a plan together to reconstruct 9 Mile Road so it improves our quality of life throughout the community. We will also be making community center improvements in terms of roof repairs, installing a backup generator, and even doing some pavilion painting out in the park areas. In addition to all of that, we are going to continue to invest in our motor pool. This means that you will see new public safety vehicles in the form of SUVs, as well as new code enforcement vehicles throughout the community. I want to thank you for your attention. Next year's budget is an example of what happens when a city comes together on all fronts to make a difference. This is a community on the mend, and a community that is growing. It is my pleasure to serve as your city manager, and I look forward to many years to come. Thank you.